The first sign came as a quiet ripple across the Earth's satellite network. Astronomers at observatories worldwide noticed a subtle pattern in signals coming from deep space. At first it looked like cosmic noise, the usual static of stars and distant galaxies. But Dr. Leena Rao, a young astrophysicist in India, noticed something different. The signals repeated in a pattern that no natural phenomenon could explain. "It's not random," she said to her team, her voice tinged with excitement. "This is intelligence. Someone is trying to communicate." Within days, other observatories confirmed her findings. Governments scrambled to understand the implications. The United Nations held an emergency session, bringing together scientists, diplomats, and military leaders. Among them was Captain Alex Mercer, a former astronaut and engineer who had spent years studying space propulsion and planetary defense systems. He listened carefully as Dr. Rao presented her findings. "They're far away," she explained, pointing at a screen displaying the trajectory of the signals. "But they know we exist. And judging by the strength of their communication, they've been watching us for a long time." Alex felt a thrill of anticipation. He had dreamed of humanity's first contact with extraterrestrials, but the reality sent a shiver down his spine. He knew that while humans had made great strides in technology, they were still far behind the civilizations of the galaxy. And yet, he had an unshakable belief in one thing: human ingenuity. Within a week, the sky above every major city changed. At first, it was only a faint glimmer, almost like distant stars moving against the natural night sky. Then, colossal shapes emerged, starships larger than anything humanity had ever imagined. They were smooth, metallic, and exuded a quiet power. The galactic elites had arrived. News networks exploded with footage. Millions watched live as the ships hovered over Earth's major cities. Their technology was beyond comprehension. They could hover effortlessly, shift positions instantaneously, and emit energy fields that made conventional weapons useless. Each ship was massive, yet perfectly graceful, reflecting light in colors that seemed to move like liquid. Despite the beauty, fear spread quickly. The elites were a coalition of civilizations known for their advanced technology and strict hierarchy. They had observed countless planets and species, making judgments about which civilizations were worth engaging and which were not. Most had been deemed unworthy of attention. Humanity, by all accounts, should have been ignored. Yet here they were, the Galactic Council, represented by the largest and most imposing ship, descended over the United Nations headquarters in New York. From it emerged delegations of aliens in humanoid and non-humanoid forms. Their appearances varied. Some had shimmering, translucent skin, others had multiple limbs, and a few had shapes that seemed impossible to exist. Despite their differences, all radiated confidence and superiority. The leaders of the Earth delegation, including Alex, were summoned to meet them. In the grand chamber of the flagship, the humans felt small. The walls were made of a material that seemed alive, shifting colors in response to thought and movement. The air was breathable but carried a faint metallic scent. "Humans," said the tallest of the elites, his voice deep and resonant yet perfectly understandable. "We have observed your species for centuries. You are limited, primitive, yet curiosity brings us here." The word stung, but Alex remained composed. He studied the aliens closely. He noticed that their technology, while advanced, seemed rigid. Their movements followed predictable patterns. Their logic, though superior in most situations, relied on assumptions about weaker species. He realized immediately that this could be a weakness. Dr. Rao stepped forward. "We welcome you to Earth," she said cautiously. "We hope that this meeting can lead to understanding and cooperation." The alien council exchanged glances, as if humoring the humans. "Cooperation is possible," the tallest said. "But first we must evaluate your species. Prove that you have value beyond survival. We do not give respect lightly." Alex felt a spark of determination. He understood what the elites did not. They were underestimating humanity. Humans had survived ice ages, pandemics, wars, and disasters that should have ended them. They had learned to adapt, to think creatively, and to solve problems in ways no other species had. That was their true strength. The first demonstration of the elite's technology took place in a large arena on the outskirts of New York. The arena was enormous, stretching for kilometers, with anti-gravity platforms and energy barriers. The elites wanted to show their superiority. They demonstrated weapons that could disable electronics with a thought, shields that could deflect the strongest impacts, and propulsion systems that made their movements almost instantaneous. Earthlings were awed and intimidated, but Alex and his team noticed something. While the elite's technology was overwhelmingly powerful, it was also predictable. Each weapon followed a pattern. Each shield had a specific frequency, and each movement could be anticipated if one studied the pattern carefully. Over the next few days, small groups of humans were invited to interact with the elite's technology under supervision. Alex volunteered. Using simple tools, some intuition, and careful observation, he and his team began to find weaknesses. A shield could be bypassed at a certain angle. An energy pulse could be reflected if redirected through a simple conductor. Small victories, barely noticeable to the elites, gave the humans hope. The galactic elites began to notice anomalies. Their initial condescension gave way to irritation. How could these primitive humans even understand the principles behind their machines? And yet, time after time, the humans found creative solutions that defied alien logic. The media caught every moment, and Earth watched as its citizens demonstrated intelligence, courage, and teamwork. Alex became a symbol of this new human potential. He knew that the elites would likely test humanity in ways that went beyond mere technology. They would test their strategy, their resilience, and their spirit. Meanwhile, global leaders worked to coordinate humanity's response. Scientists shared knowledge rapidly. Engineers repurposed everyday technology to complement advanced research. Civilians contributed in their own ways. Farmers, mechanics, and teachers, all ordinary people, became part of a network working to understand and respond to the presence of the galactic elites. As the first week drew to a close, the elites proposed a larger evaluation. This would involve a series of challenges designed to measure human ingenuity, problem-solving, and adaptability. Alex knew that this was the moment of truth. Humans could no longer simply react. They had to anticipate, plan, and work together on a scale never attempted before. That night, Alex stood on a rooftop overlooking New York City. The colossal ships hovered silently above, reflecting the lights of the city. He thought about humanity's history, the countless obstacles humans had overcome. Every generation had faced threats that seemed insurmountable, yet humans had always found a way. "We've survived worse," he whispered to himself. "We'll survive this too, and we'll show them what Earthlings are capable of." Dr. Rao joined him, looking up at the ships. "Do you really think we can do it?" she asked. Alex smiled, a calm confidence in his eyes. "We don't just survive, Lena, we adapt. We innovate. And the galactic elites, they've just made the mistake of underestimating us." For the first time, Earth felt united not just by fear but by a spark of hope. Humanity was about to step onto the galactic stage. And though the challenges would be immense, Alex knew one thing with certainty. Humans would not be dismissed, and their ingenuity would shine. The galactic elites had arrived expecting to judge a primitive species. They had no idea that they were about to meet a species that could think, adapt, and fight in ways they had never imagined. And that was only the beginning. The morning sun reflected off the gleaming surfaces of the alien starships as Earth's delegation prepared for the first official test. The galactic elites had designed it as a demonstration of human inferiority. A friendly challenge, they called it. Though their condescending smiles betrayed their true intent. The arena was a massive structure hovering above the outskirts of New York City, stretching for kilometers in all directions. Anti-gravity platforms floated mid-air. Energy barriers shimmered like heat waves, and robotic devices moved with mechanical precision. The elite's goal was clear. They would present a complex scenario expecting humans to fail. Captain Alex Mercer surveyed the arena with a mixture of caution and determination. Beside him stood Dr. Lena Rao and several other scientists and engineers who had volunteered for the test. Though the humans were vastly outmatched in technology, Alex knew that advantage did not always belong to the most advanced weapon. Ingenuity, creativity, and the ability to adapt quickly could turn the tide. "This is going to be harder than anything we've faced," Alex said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. "But if we think like them, and then think differently, we can find a way through." The first challenge began with a loud hum as the arena shifted. Platforms rose and fell. Energy barriers appeared and small robotic drones zipped through the air scanning for human mistakes. The elites explained the task. Humans had to navigate the arena, reach the control panel at the center, and activate a beacon without triggering the defenses. Any error would result in automatic failure. Alex's team studied the movement patterns of the drones and the timing of the barriers. Unlike the aliens, humans had an instinct for improvisation. They noticed slight delays in the drones' scanning sequences and small imperfections in the energy fields. These were opportunities. "Lena, can we use reflective panels to redirect the drone's sensors?" Alex asked. Lena nodded. "We can make it from standard aluminum sheets. It won't stop them completely, but it could give us a few seconds to move undetected." Within minutes, the team began improvising. Engineers and volunteers assembled makeshift tools and devices, turning ordinary objects into effective solutions. A ladder became a bridge between two platforms. Reflective sheets and mirrors disrupted sensors. Even small electrical generators helped power devices that interfaced with the alien systems. The elites watched with interest, initially assuming that any human interference would be primitive and ineffective. But as the humans progressed through the arena, unexpected successes began to accumulate. A drone miscalculated a reflection and temporarily lost track of a team member. A barrier that should have blocked their path flickered due to the redirection of energy from a simple wire coil. The audience, both human and alien, held their breath. No one had expected the humans to get this far. Alex moved with calm precision, guiding the team through each obstacle. He encouraged quick thinking and improvisation, praising ideas that combined simplicity with cleverness. "You see, the trick isn't to match their technology," he reminded them. "It's to understand it, predict it, and use it against itself. Think creatively, not conventionally." The humans reached the central control panel, a smooth interface glowing with alien symbols. Alex studied the panel and realized it was designed to respond only to alien thought patterns. But humans could still influence it indirectly. Using a combination of mirrors, electromagnetic pulses from modified devices, and precise timing, they managed to trigger the beacon. A green light flashed, signaling success. The arena fell silent. The galactic elites exchanged surprised glances. They had not anticipated that humans could solve the problem in ways completely outside their own logic. To them, the humans' method seemed chaotic, almost illogical, but they worked. The tallest of the elites, the one who had addressed Earth's delegation, stepped forward. "Remarkable," he said, though his tone betrayed irritation. "You have completed the task. Yet this is only a small measure of your capabilities." Alex felt a surge of quiet pride. He knew this was more than just a victory in a single test. It was proof that humans could adapt and innovate under pressure. Yet he also knew that the elites would not stop. This was only the beginning of a series of evaluations, each designed to challenge human creativity, endurance, and teamwork. The second challenge was even more complex. The elites created a simulation of a planetary disaster, a series of cascading failures across a model city within the arena. Energy surges, mechanical breakdowns, and environmental hazards threatened to overwhelm the human participants. Their task was to stabilize the city before total collapse. Alex led the team with focus and determination. They divided tasks based on skills. Engineers monitored energy systems, scientists predicted failure patterns, and Alex coordinated movement through the city. Every decision had to be precise yet flexible. The humans quickly realized that their advantage lay not in speed or strength, but in improvisation and lateral thinking. When a power grid threatened to overload, they rerouted energy through makeshift conduits, using materials that the aliens had deemed irrelevant. When a structural failure occurred, a simple pulley and counterweight system stabilized the model buildings. Every time a new problem emerged, the humans found a creative solution, combining intuition with knowledge. By the end of the simulation, the city was saved. The elites had expected failure. Instead, they had witnessed humans solving problems in ways that no algorithm or calculation could predict. For the first time, some of the younger elites looked genuinely puzzled. "What is this?" one of them asked, a note of disbelief in their voice. "They do not rely on logic alone, they improvise," Alex smiled, though his expression was calm. "Improvisation is part of survival," he said simply. "Humans have been surviving challenges far greater than this for thousands of years. You cannot underestimate that. Even as they completed the second test, Alex noticed subtle shifts in the elites' behavior. Their confidence was no longer absolute. Their gestures were slightly less assured, and their discussions, though private, carried tones of concern. The humans were learning, adapting, and succeeding. The elites had not anticipated this. The final challenge of the day combined physical agility, strategy, and teamwork. Humans were required to navigate a complex obstacle course while carrying fragile energy cores, all under the watchful eye of the elites. At first, the challenge seemed impossible. The cores were sensitive, the course unpredictable, and the alien monitors constantly adjusted obstacles in response to human movement. But once again, humans proved resourceful. They communicated with hand signals, improvised supports and bridges, and anticipated the course's changes based on subtle cues. By combining intelligence with teamwork, they completed the course in record time, much to the shock of the galactic elites. At the conclusion of the tests, the arena erupted, not in applause, but in awe. Humans had succeeded where no one expected. Alex, Lena, and their team stood together, tired but exhilarated. They had faced the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy, and had not only survived, they had demonstrated that Earthlings could think, adapt, and overcome. The elites, for their part, were silent. Their expressions betrayed confusion and unease. They had assumed humans were weak, predictable, and inferior. Instead, they had been confronted with a species that used creativity and courage to challenge the impossible. The tallest elite spoke finally, his tone measured but lacking its usual authority. "Humans, you are remarkable. We underestimated you. This will require reconsideration." Alex did not reply. Words were unnecessary. The message was clear. Humanity had made its mark. The tests had proven that even without advanced technology, humans could face challenges that others deemed insurmountable. As the alien delegation retreated to their ships for the night, Alex looked over the city. Humans were watching from their homes, streets, and rooftops, witnessing the first signs of what could become an entirely new chapter for Earth. Excitement, pride, and hope mingled with the lingering fear of what was still to come. "This is just the beginning," Alex said quietly to Lena, who nodded. "They'll test us again, and next time, we'll be ready," Lena smiled. "We've already shown them we're not what they expected." "That counts for something," Alex nodded. "It counts for everything." Above them, the massive starship shimmered under the moonlight. They had come expecting to judge a primitive species. Instead, they had been forced to witness humanity's ingenuity and resilience. The galactic elites had underestimated Earthlings, and that underestimation would soon become their greatest mistake. Humanity, united in curiosity and courage, was stepping onto the galactic stage. And for the first time, the universe had to take notice. The night was unusually quiet. Across the globe, humanity celebrated their victories in the first series of challenges. News of human ingenuity had spread rapidly, inspiring pride in every city, town, and village. Even children whispered excitedly about the cleverness of Alex Mercer and his team. Earth had made an impression, but far above the planet, in the shadow of the massive alien starships, a storm was brewing. The galactic elites had gathered in a council aboard the flagship. The tallest of the elites, whose voice had once carried authority over humans, paced the gleaming deck. His expression was tight, his translucent skin flickering in color with irritation. "They succeed too easily," he said sharply. "We provided controlled challenges, and yet they adapt faster than anticipated. This is unacceptable." Another elite, smaller but equally imposing, responded. "Perhaps they are a curiosity, nothing more. But if left unchecked, their unpredictability could become a threat. Do we risk exposure by allowing them to continue?" The council debated quietly, but the decision was clear. If humans were to be kept under control, they could no longer be tested through games or demonstrations alone. A faction within the elites proposed a more direct approach, a show of force meant to intimidate Earth into submission. "This will remind them of their place," the tallest said, his voice cold. "They will learn the limits of their abilities, or they will cease to challenge us." Meanwhile, on Earth, Alex and his team prepared for the next phase of engagement. The first tests had given humans valuable insights into alien technology and tactics. Engineers had been analyzing the drones, energy shields, and anti-gravity systems, looking for patterns, weaknesses, and opportunities. Alex gathered his team in the United Nations headquarters, which had become a hub for planning and research. "They won't stop at observation," he said, pacing slowly. "At some point, they'll try to force us to obey. We need to be ready for that. We've already seen how they think, and now it's time to think like them, and beyond." Lena Rao adjusted the holographic display showing the alien fleet above Earth. "They have warships in orbit that could destroy any city in minutes. But we've also seen that their systems, though advanced, have predictable patterns. We just need to be clever." Civilians joined in as volunteers. Engineers, mechanics, programmers, and students worked side by side. They studied alien drones, energy flows, and structural weaknesses. Every ordinary object on Earth, cables, mirrors, generators, and even bicycles, became potential tools for defense. Humanity was uniting in a way never seen before, not out of fear alone, but determination. The next morning, the Galactic Elite's presence became more imposing. Warships hovered lower over major cities, their energy shields glowing faintly. The humans were no longer just being tested, they were being threatened. The first strike came without warning. A drone fleet, far larger than anything humans had previously encountered, swept over a city. They were designed to disable communication and control systems. The elites expected panic. They expected surrender. Instead, humans adapted. Alex coordinated the defense. Engineers modified signal boosters to scramble drone sensors. Civilians used reflective surfaces to redirect scanning beams. Even everyday items, mirrors, water hoses, metal panels, became part of a sophisticated web of countermeasures. Drones crashed, misfired, and became confused. The elites watched from orbit, stunned that humans could respond so quickly. For every conventional attack, humanity found an unconventional answer, yet the battle was only beginning. The elites dispatched smaller warships to target specific strategic locations: power grids, satellite networks, and transportation hubs. Humanity faced a critical test. The survival of cities depended not on superior weapons, but on creativity, cooperation, and speed. Alex led a daring team into the heart of a city threatened by an energy surge from an elite warship. Using modified drones of their own design, they disrupted energy beams with carefully timed pulses. Lena and a group of engineers rerouted power through makeshift circuits to stabilize the city's grid. Ordinary citizens assisted by coordinating signals and guiding emergency teams. It was chaos, yet organized chaos. Humans moved with purpose, combining intellect with intuition. Every small victory, rerouting a power line, disabling a drone, or stabilizing a structure, added to the morale of the defenders. By nightfall, the humans had not only defended several key cities, but had also discovered vulnerabilities in the elite warships. Certain energy patterns were cyclical, and some shields could be bypassed with simple interference. These insights, while limited, were invaluable. The elites, however, were far from defeated. Frustration grew within their ranks. For the first time, a sense of fear crept into the council chambers aboard the flagship. Humans were proving that adaptability, courage, and creativity could match even the most advanced technology. The next day, a small group of elite leaders descended to Earth, disguised in humanoid forms to observe human activity more closely. They expected to find chaos, fear, and disorganization. Instead, they witnessed coordination, teamwork, and resilience. Civilians, engineers, and scientists worked together seamlessly. Children, inspired by the adults' courage, helped in small but meaningful ways, delivering messages, assisting with equipment, or simply observing and learning. One of the elite observers whispered to another, "This species, they are unlike any we have encountered. They adapt in ways we do not predict." Alex, aware that humans were being watched, continued to coordinate defense efforts. He realized that observation was an advantage as well. Every movement, every reaction, was an opportunity to learn more about the aliens' expectations and limitations. The most daring plan came when a massive warship attempted to disable a communication hub connecting several continents. Alex and his team devised a strategy that combined stealth, speed, and ingenuity. Using drones modified with simple reflectors and mirrors, they redirected the ship's energy sensors, creating blind spots. Engineers used magnetic pulses to temporarily disrupt targeting systems. Civilians assisted by guiding teams along safe routes. The operation succeeded. The warship, unable to achieve its objective, retreated in confusion. Humanity had not only survived but had demonstrated the ability to turn the elite's power against them. That evening, as Alex surveyed the city from a rooftop, he felt the weight of responsibility. The stakes were higher than ever. The galactic elites had underestimated humans once, but now they were realizing the true challenge Earth presented. Failure was not an option. Lena joined him, looking exhausted but determined. "They've realized we're capable," she said quietly. "Do you think they'll try something bigger?" Alex nodded. "They will. And when they do, we'll be ready. Humanity has a way of turning disadvantages into advantages. That's what they've forgotten." Across the globe, people slept uneasily, yet with a spark of hope. Families, workers, and communities had all contributed to defending their world. They had learned that bravery was not just about fighting. It was about thinking, cooperating, and believing in the power of ingenuity. In orbit, the galactic elites convened once more. Their confidence was shaken. The species they had assumed to be primitive was not only surviving, but outsmarting them at every turn. For the first time in galactic history, humans had forced a coalition of the most advanced civilizations to reconsider their assumptions. The Council's decision was made. The next phase would be decisive. The elites would deploy their most advanced systems and test humanity to its limits. But they underestimated one final factor: humans had learned. They had adapted. And they were ready to surprise the galaxy again. As night fell over Earth, Alex looked to the stars, a determined light in his eyes. The battles ahead would be harder, the stakes higher. But humanity had proven one undeniable truth. Underestimating Earthlings was a mistake no civilization could afford to make. The galactic elites had begun their betrayal, attempting to impose fear and domination. But humanity's courage, ingenuity, and unity would ensure that the story of Earth was only beginning, and that in the grand theater of the galaxy, humans were a force to be reckoned with. The dawn over Earth was eerily calm, but the atmosphere was tense. The galactic elites had grown frustrated, their pride wounded by humanity's repeated successes. They had expected fear and submission, yet every human response had been clever, unexpected, and effective. Now, they were determined to test humanity with their full might. Captain Alex Mercer stood on the rooftop of the United Nations headquarters, scanning the horizon. The massive alien warships had lowered in orbit, their energy shields glowing ominously. This time there would be no simulations or controlled tests. The elites were preparing a direct assault, a demonstration meant to force humans into surrender or submission. Alex turned to his team. "They're bringing everything they have. But that's okay. We know how they think. We've already seen their patterns, their limits. Now it's our turn to turn the situation to our advantage." Dr. Lena Rao nodded, her eyes filled with determination. "We can't match them in power, but we can outthink them. If we use what we've learned, we can protect the planet and prove humanity's strength once and for all." Across Earth, civilians prepared. Engineers and scientists worked tirelessly, modifying existing technology and creating new devices based on the knowledge gained from previous encounters. Communication networks were fortified, energy grids secured, and emergency protocols practiced. Every citizen, from children to adults, contributed in some way. Humanity was united in purpose, ready to defend their home. The first wave of the assault came just after midday. Alien drones, faster and more advanced than any previously encountered, streaked through the sky, scanning for vulnerabilities. Their weapons emitted pulses of energy designed to disable electronics and create panic, but humans responded with a combination of ingenuity and improvisation. Alex led a team of engineers to a high-rise in the heart of the city. Using reflective panels, electromagnetic fields, and carefully timed signals, they redirected the energy pulses. Drones were confused, crashing into barriers or being temporarily disabled. Civilians coordinated traffic and emergency responses, ensuring that the city remained functional despite the chaos. Meanwhile, in orbit, smaller elite warships attempted precision strikes on critical infrastructure. Humanity's defenders used creative tactics to counter them. Satellites were repositioned to create interference, while ground-based systems redirected energy signals, effectively creating a protective shield over key areas. The elites, observing from their flagship, began to realize that their overwhelming power was being neutralized not by force but by human intelligence. Their expressions, previously confident and arrogant, now showed concern. For the first time, they were facing a species that could think, adapt, and coordinate under pressure in ways they had not predicted. Alex knew that a decisive move was necessary. A massive warship was preparing to target the city's main power grid, a strike that could plunge millions into darkness and chaos. He proposed a daring plan, a direct intervention to disrupt the ship's systems. Using modified drones, a small team would approach the warship while the city's defenses provided cover. The drones, equipped with reflective surfaces and electromagnetic disruptors, were to create interference in the ship's sensors. Simultaneously, engineers on the ground would feed carefully timed signals into the city's grid, creating a resonance that could destabilize the ship's energy shields. It was risky. Failure could result in massive destruction. But Alex's confidence was unwavering. "We've faced worse," he said to his team, "and this time we know their weaknesses. Stay focused, move quickly, and trust each other." The operation began. Drones darted through the sky like silver streaks, weaving between energy pulses and anti-air defenses. The team on the ground coordinated every movement with precision, adjusting signals in real time. Civilians assisted by guiding emergency services and monitoring secondary systems. For a tense hour, the battle waged on. Then, at a critical moment, the resonance from the city's grid interacted perfectly with the drone interference. The warship's shields flickered and faltered. Systems that had seemed invincible moments ago began to destabilize. Alarms blared aboard the flagship as the elite struggled to regain control. Alex seized the opportunity. Using small but precise modifications to the drones, his team created a temporary portal through the warship's sensor grid, allowing a direct interference signal to reach the core systems. Lights flashed, power fluctuated, and for the first time, the massive ship was vulnerable. The elites watched in disbelief as the humans, armed with ordinary ingenuity and teamwork, neutralized their most powerful vessel. The message was clear. Humans were not weak, predictable, or primitive. They were resourceful, clever, and capable of achieving the impossible. Across the planet, people cheered. Cities were safe, infrastructure intact, and the assault had been repelled. Humanity had faced its first major test against the full force of the galactic elites, and they had succeeded. The elites, however, were far from defeated. Pride and authority demanded a response. They regrouped, planning a more strategic approach. But even in their council chambers, tension was high. For the first time, they debated openly, questioning whether underestimating humanity had been a grave mistake. Alex understood that the struggle was far from over. "They'll come again," he said to Lena as they watched the remaining warships hover silently. "But now they know that we're not just surviving, we're thinking. And thinking is something they can't control." Lena nodded. "We've shown them that humans can adapt, improvise, and overcome. They won't forget this lesson." Humanity's defenders spent the night strengthening their systems, analyzing data from the battle, and preparing for future encounters. Lessons had been learned, weaknesses corrected, and strategies refined. Civilians contributed tirelessly, motivated by the knowledge that their ingenuity had protected countless lives. The turning point had come. The galactic elites, for all their power and advanced technology, had faced a species that refused to be underestimated. Humans had proven that courage, intelligence, and unity could rival even the most sophisticated machines. As dawn approached, Alex stood once more on the rooftop, looking at the horizon. The battle was won, but the war was not over. Yet for the first time there was no fear, only determination. Humanity had survived the onslaught, and more importantly, they had shown that they were capable of more than anyone had anticipated. "The galaxy thinks it knows us," Alex said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. "But they haven't seen the best of humanity yet." Lena joined him, her eyes reflecting the first light of morning. "We've turned the tide," she said, "and now we get to decide how far we can go." Above them, the alien ships remained massive and silent, but the aura of superiority had faded. The galactic elites had underestimated Earthlings, and that miscalculation had shifted the balance. Humanity was no longer a passive participant. They were a force to be reckoned with. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. The turning point had arrived. Earth had proven that even in the face of overwhelming power, the courage, creativity, and unity of humans could change the course of events. and the galactic elites who had come to judge and dominate were learning a lesson they would not forget. Underestimating Earthlings was a mistake no civilization could afford to make. The sky over Earth was calm yet alive with a new energy. For the first time, humanity looked at the stars not with fear but with pride. The galactic elites had arrived expecting to judge a primitive species, and instead, they had witnessed something extraordinary, a species that could think, adapt, and overcome challenges that even the most advanced civilizations could not anticipate. Captain Alex Mercer stood on a hill overlooking the city, the morning sun casting a golden light over buildings and streets. He could see people emerging from their homes, families reuniting, and children playing in the streets. The world had survived, but more importantly, it had grown stronger. Dr. Lena Rao joined him carrying a tablet displaying communications from the Galactic Council. "They're proposing something unprecedented," she said, her voice tinged with awe. "A delegation wants to formally meet with Earth's leaders, not as conquerors, but as equals." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Equals, after everything?" Lena nodded. "They've realized that underestimating humans was a mistake. They want to establish diplomatic relations, exchange knowledge, and, well, they want to learn from us too." Alex smiled, feeling a surge of pride. "We've always known humans are resourceful. Now the galaxy knows too." News spread quickly. Earth had not only survived the tests and attacks of the galactic elites, but had also earned respect on a scale never imagined. Across the planet, people celebrated, not just for victory, but for the recognition of their ingenuity, courage, and unity. Global leaders prepared for the historic meeting. Delegates from every nation gathered to represent humanity. Scientists, engineers, and civilians who had contributed to the defense were invited to participate. The world had proven that its strength did not lie solely in technology or weapons, but in creativity, intelligence, and the ability to work together under pressure. The galactic delegation arrived in orbit once more, but this time their demeanor was different. There was no arrogance, no condescension. They descended with care, showing respect and acknowledgement for the species they had once underestimated. In the grand chamber of the flagship, Alex and the leaders of Earth were welcomed formally. The tallest of the galactic elites, who had once spoken with superiority, now regarded humanity with a mixture of admiration and humility. "Humans," he said, his tone solemn, "you have demonstrated qualities that even the most advanced civilizations struggle to achieve. Adaptability, courage, and ingenuity are rare traits, and you possess them in abundance. We underestimated you, and for that we must apologize." Alex stepped forward. "It wasn't about proving superiority or showing strength through force," he replied. "It was about showing that humans can think, learn, and work together. That's how we survive, and that's how we grow." The galactic elites nodded in understanding. Other representatives, some humanoid and some entirely unlike humans, expressed their admiration. They admitted that humanity's ingenuity had challenged their assumptions and taught them a valuable lesson. True strength is not always measured by technology alone, but by the ability to adapt, innovate, and persevere. In the days that followed, Earth's relationship with the Galactic Council transformed. Knowledge exchange programs were established. Human scientists and engineers began collaborating with alien counterparts, learning advanced principles of energy, propulsion, and medicine. In turn, humans contributed fresh ideas, solutions that were often simple, practical, and unexpectedly effective. Alex and his team continued to play a leading role. They traveled to the Galactic Council chambers to share insights, observe advanced technologies, and participate in joint missions. Humanity's reputation grew quickly. Other species began to see Earthlings not as primitive observers, but as creative problem solvers and valuable allies. Back on Earth, life began to change. Cities became more advanced, with new energy systems and transportation networks inspired by collaboration with alien engineers. Education systems were enriched with knowledge of galactic cultures, physics, and technology. Yet, even with these advancements, the spirit of humanity remained intact. Courage, cooperation, and ingenuity continued to define the species. Alex reflected on the journey that had begun months ago with the first signals from deep space. At the time, humanity had been unsure, frightened, and vulnerable. Now, humans had proven that they could not only survive contact with the most advanced civilizations, but could also thrive and contribute in meaningful ways. Lena joined him on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. "Do you ever think they'll underestimate us again?" she asked, a hint of a smile on her face. Alex shook his head. "Not likely. But even if they do, we've learned something important. Humans can handle the unexpected, adapt quickly, and find solutions when it seems impossible. That's a lesson no one can ever take away from us." Across the globe, people were inspired. Children looked up at the night sky with curiosity and hope. Engineers, students, and scientists pursued knowledge with renewed vigor. Humanity's story had changed. It was no longer just a tale of survival on a single planet, but a story of creativity, courage, and the power to make a mark on the galaxy. The galactic elites, once dismissive and proud, had learned a critical truth. Underestimating Earthlings was not only a mistake, it was a costly one. They now treated humanity as equals, recognizing the unique strengths that had enabled humans to face overwhelming challenges and emerge victorious. As months passed, Earth became a respected member of the galactic community. Humans participated in interstellar projects, contributed innovative solutions to complex problems, and shared their perspective on adaptability and resilience. Across the stars, Earthlings were admired not for the sheer power of their technology, but for their courage, creativity, and the unyielding spirit that had allowed them to overcome seemingly impossible odds. Alex stood on the same rooftop where it had all begun, watching the horizon as alien ships glided past in formation. He felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that humanity had not only survived but had earned its place in the galaxy. The universe was vast, filled with challenges and unknown civilizations, yet humans were ready. Lena stood beside him. "We've come a long way," she said softly. "And this is just the beginning." Alex nodded. "The galaxy knows now. We're not just survivors, we're innovators, thinkers, and problem solvers. And no one will underestimate humans again." As the sun rose, casting golden light over Earth, it illuminated a world united, confident, and ready for the challenges of tomorrow. The galactic elites had learned their lesson. Humanity had proven itself not by power alone, but by intelligence, courage, and the ability to adapt against all odds. In that moment, Earth's place in the galaxy was secure, not as a minor observer, but as a respected, creative, and courageous participant. Humanity had faced the impossible, outsmarted the powerful, and earned its right to shape its own future. And as Captain Alex Mercer looked to the stars, he knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity had arrived,